My name is Misty Mueller. I am the Executive Director of the Mary and Frances Youth Center, which is under the Division of Community Engagement. If you're not familiar with the Mary and Frances Youth Center, we are on campus. If you've driven down Cary Street and you know where the Cary Street Gym is and the green turf field, we are the building right between. And I see somebody right now going, oh yeah. And most people just assume that that building and those two tennis courts are a part of Rec Well, but we are a thriving youth center. We have Vaughn, who you just met, to let you know about the Youth Development Network. We also are running programming for youth that is primarily, it used to have a focus on tennis, but now we are doing so much more. Those of you that are working with youth, we are looking to start a youth advisory council and really wanting to bring youth to the table and give them a voice in the direction of the youth center. My hope is that all youth can look at the Mary and Frances Youth Center and see something that excites them, something that will, as we heard this morning, we have youth that are living less than a mile away and they've never been on campus. So we really want to change that. Those of you that are from VCU, we want to come together and really have a conversation about the work that we're doing and how we can collaborate in a number of initiatives. But enough about me and the Mary and Frances Youth Center. We have our wonderful keynote speaker here, Sean Miller. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sean, and then we are going to just go right into our Q&A with him. So for those of you that may not know, Sean Miller is a passionate community leader and youth advocate dedicated to driving inclusion, prosperity across the region, especially in the Richmond area and Petersburg. Over the years, he has contributed to the educational and recreational growth of his community, working with Richmond Public Schools, the Department of Parks and Recreation in Suffolk, Chesapeake, and progressively responsible roles with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Richmond, where he currently serves as president and CEO. A proud product of Richmond Public Schools and a graduate of VCU community, he has also completed the mini MBA program at the University of Richmond. We are very thankful and excited to have Sean here with us and to share his story and journey. So first and foremost, thank you, Sean, for being here. So today, let's make sure his mic is working. So today, Sean, I know we're speaking a lot about positive youth development. Can you give us some insight about your personal youth development journey and share with us how it's brought you to where you are today?
First and foremost, hope everyone is having a great morning. I heard everything was going well and people are excited. I think folks are a little sleepy now from the good lunch. Is that true, or y'all all right? All right, so in order to counteract that, we're going to do 25 jumping jacks, 50 push-ups led by Mr. Danielle Derrick Hart in the back. If that's okay, I'm joking. Positive youth development and my journey. So I'm a Richmonder, Southside kid. I'm actually a product of Huguenot High School, Go Falcons. My journey was not a straight line. So I'll start at the beginning. So as a kid growing up, I had an affinity for sports, just like many of our young men do across the state, and even our young women as well. The thing that was a little different about me is that I really liked the statistics. I liked the numbers behind sports. So even as a 7, 8-year-old, I was that kid that was looking in the box score. So I learned how to read box scores in the newspaper. So I loved the sports section. I quickly figured out that I would look at the scores and see how many field goal attempts they had, missed free throws, etc. And I had a vivid imagination. So I started to create this whole league in my own mind. And I was able to start to do the scoring average leaders. And that was just something that I liked to do early as a kid. But again, it was more than just sports. It was the issues and everything else that was going on behind the sports. I had good grades all through high school and middle school, elementary school as well. And again, that whole image of wanting to be a professional athlete was there. I did learn fairly early that that was not in the cards for me. I did not have, and remember this, fast twitch muscles are very important for an athlete. Mine were slow twitch. So I could run, jump a little bit, but I just wasn't that fast. As I think about my childhood growing up, a couple things stand out. I'm going to date myself with this, so it's okay if I'm the only person that remembers this, but we had a couple publications in my household, all right? It was the Jet magazine, so for y'all young folks, Google Jet magazine. Okay. Y'all remember the other one, Ebony? Uh-huh. So the Jet magazine and Ebony was a foundation of really my learning and my love of reading. The other thing that I used to look at again was the JCPenney catalog. Uh-huh. Sears. So, hold on. So I thought this was all kids in here. I'm joking. But that was really important. As I go through this journey, you'll hear me talk about a couple people, and these people were really, really important parts of my life. In the middle school time frame, in elementary, I can remember Mr. Dillard, Sherman Dillard. He was my principal at J.L. Francis. I can remember Mr. William Carr, the principal at Bouchard Middle School. Mr. Carlton Stevens, the principal at Huguenot. Bo Jones, my coach. Coach Bailey, et cetera. Each of these gentlemen played an integral role in who I am today. The other side of the coin, from the academic side, was Ms. Jerome Selden, who was one of the toughest English teachers around. Ms. Beverly Mountain, who I think worked in RPS for a number of years after I left. And then Ms. Kayson. Ms. Kayson was really paramount to helping me become who I am, because in second grade, and this is how early that impact started, in second grade, I had a great teacher. If I would have had a bad teacher, it would have changed everything. But Stephanie Kayson is at the epicenter of me helping to become who I am today. Talked about this a little bit in terms of the people, but the village. The village is really important. And I'll say, as I became an older youth, and I'm talking about 24, 25 years old, a student at VCU, I had the pleasure of having my academic advisor and one of my favorite professors, Dr. John McGrath, in the sociology department. Dr. McGrath was really important. He kept me in school. It was a point in time that my journey and my plan was to actually stop going to school. I had a family, I needed to work, et cetera. That was my grand plan. Dr. McGrath probably put together a string of expletives, some 4-letter ones, 6-letter one, and a particular 13-letter one, is where y'all can count a little bit. But he told me my plan was not only stupid, but it was bad. It was short-sighted, and quite frankly, I had come too far to quit. This was a white man telling this to a 22, 23-year-old black young man in the city of Richmond, around, 2000 or so, right? That was really, really important for me to hear, and it was really important and paramount to where I am today. The foundation of everything I just talked about is about relationships. Absent these relationships and somebody that believed in me, I'm just grateful to have had numerous people believe in me and be able to support, from my grandmother making me rewrite stuff because it needed to be neat, to doing crossword puzzles, et cetera. So those things were really important.
Okay, thank you. So obviously, from what we've heard, participating in positive youth development has really made an impact on your life. And now that you're in the role that you are leading this work and other youth-serving organizations locally and regionally, from your perspective, what is working in the youth development space, and what do we need more of, and what do we need less of?
So what's working? We remember what happened in March of 2020. COVID happened. And what I saw happen, and what many of the partners in the room actually did, we stepped into a space that we weren't prepared for. We had no idea that it was around the corner. We didn't close down shop. We pivoted. We did a hard, fast, quick pivot, and in some instances, we pivoted 5 or 6 different times in order to get it right. A lot of agencies that are in this room right now, you probably weren't able to go into your buildings, probably weren't able to go into your schools. Virtual engagement happened, phone calls happened. All of those things really happened. We stepped into a space of not only just trying to deliver our program outcomes, we stepped into the space of delivering needs, food, shelter, clothing, et cetera. It was a lot of mission creep going on during COVID. And I think it was positive. And I think what it really showed is that our agency, our organization, our whole network, we have a lot of talented individuals, talented people, but ultimately we were able to step into a lot of different spaces. Another piece is just the focus on social emotional learning has been really, really important. We can say that it was a result of COVID in some instances. These things were already brewing well before COVID. COVID, it was almost like the microwave or the magnifying glass to make it not better, but make it worse or make it more needed. But I see a commitment to it. We've had several community network meetings around social emotional learning, social emotional development. I know in Boys and Girls Club, we have 2 staff that are certified trainers that will not looking to just hold that within Boys and Girls Club, but ultimately to expand that to an entire network. The other beautiful thing that I saw happen, and this is a result of what happened in March 2020 as well. I think as a community, we stopped trying to just hoard and protect our own space, and we broke down our own walls. We reduced barriers. We reduced me trying to just protect my space or my part of town or my specific group of kids, et cetera. If we weren't doing anything perfect, we connected with folks that could do it better than us. And it just was an opportunity for us to really say, like, hey, we can provide this opportunity here. We provide this level of service. If you can do it better than us, come on into our building, use our facility, use our space, talk to our kids, engage with our parents, et cetera. The flexibility piece is really, really important, and that agile response that we had during COVID is really what was standing out. The issue that we have today, and I still see it happening, is, you take a look at the gun violence and a lot of the violence that's impacting our young people in the community. I see community partners coming together. At the Boys and Girls Club, we have maybe 10, 15, 20 different partners coming into our new teen and community center to deliver programs and services. And it's not about it being a Boys and Girls Club program. It's about getting the best opportunity for our kids to get exposure and experiences as well. In terms of what should there be less of, I think was a question. It's 2023, y'all. It is no need for us to continue doing redundant things and duplicative efforts, all right? Let's really step into the space of what we're good at, and let's take down the barrier. Let's remove the ego. Check all of that stuff at the door, because we have a community that needs us to improve. We have a community that needs to see us work together. And quite frankly, all of the people in this room, I believe that we have the opportunity to model that behavior in a way that Richmond probably hasn't seen before broadly. Now, you have some pockets, but broadly speaking, I think there's an opportunity to eliminate duplicative services and just move forward with real partnerships.
Okay, thank you. So we've talked a little bit about the role that partnerships play in youth development organization, and tell us a little bit about what you've learned about successful and unsuccessful partnerships in your work. What advice would you give the audience on how to structure a successful partnership to promote positive youth development?
Yep. Successful partnerships, co-creation. So gone are the days of Misty having a program and saying, hey, we're gonna come do this, and us just saying, hey, yep, come on in. We now need to have the opportunity to talk about shared outcomes, shared metrics, and quite frankly, we need to share in the risk and share in the reward. We need to elevate above and beyond collaboration. Collaboration is we like each other, we can work together. But partnership really leads into we're gonna share in these risks, we're gonna share in the rewards of what we have to offer as well. But co-creation is really important for us. Engaging with experts. And really being able to step out of the space and having that, everybody knows this person that knows every single thing. I'm gonna say it from the front of the room. I'll just own it from Boys and Girls Club side. We do not have all of the answers. We do not know every single thing. And quite frankly, there are more partners in this area that have expertise that we can each tap into. We might do some things better than others can as far as that's concerned. As far as building successful partnerships, not to make this have a lot of red tape or just too cumbersome, but probably need to get an agreement in place. All right? put something in paper. That MOU, or letter of understanding, et cetera, is super duper important because it dictates the rules of engagement. It ultimately can hold yourselves accountable, and it eliminates the opportunity to point fingers. It eliminates the chance of me saying, y'all didn't do something well, I did, I'm better, et cetera. But it's really that rules of engagement and getting that documentation in place. And there's nothing wrong with it at all, because quite frankly, absent that, that's when things start to go left, and I think we get in a little bit of trouble as far as that's concerned. The other big piece is just having a vision for the end game. Start with the end in mind. And again, it's not about a single program. It's not about a single metric. It's about the overall impact and outcome that our kids can have as a result of engaging in different opportunities.
Yes, and that was exactly what I was going to say. When we start with the end in mind, and then we think about the message that we heard this morning from Dr. Masaval, it's partnership, alignment, and impact. And how do we get to that impact? It's through these partnerships. It's through recognizing and really elaborating on our strengths for that common purpose. So I appreciate you saying that. If you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about some of the projects or initiatives that your organization is currently focusing on, and how have you applied some of the advice that you've shared in the previous question to how you're approaching that work?
Absolutely. So one big thing that we're excited about, first and foremost, we're in the midst of a strategic planning process, which will chart the course of Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Richmond for the next 5, 10, 15 years. What that process will definitely include is a laser focus on career pathways and engagement. It will also include a commitment to social emotional learning. And this is not just a program that the kids are engaging in. This is about getting the staff ready and prepared to help engage with not only kids, but also their families as well. This is going to be done through partnership. So we've adapted a life and workforce readiness framework that really evolves around 3 pieces. It's EDA. So the E is exploration. So just think about it as a kid and use me as an example. I had a love for sports, all right? I thought the end game was what? Being on TV, being LeBron James, et cetera. Had I done a bit more exploration, I could have figured out that there were some other pieces of sports. So I asked y'all a question. What's one other thing that I could have done from a sports perspective besides playing or being on TV? Broadcasting. What else? Statistics. Physical therapy. I could have been a coach. All right, operations, logistics, all of those things with different pieces. So just that exploration piece is really important. The other letter that I'd say is D. So that stands for develop. So giving the kids an opportunity not only to explore, but then develop skills as well. Develop those skills. I had an affinity for statistics, for math, et cetera. Everybody doesn't like it, right? But I guarantee you, when you start to take a look at the contracts that these folks are getting paid, and you do a real quick, a real quick equation, 20 million divided by 82 games. I don't know what that number is right offhand. That's a lot of money, all right? As I take a look at it, my adult brain goes to, there's more money to be made if I'm giving one player $20 million. This is a sports entertainment industry that's in place, and there's just a lot of different opportunities as far as that's concerned. The other letter is A. So we talked about explore, develop, and the A is apply. So now giving our kids an opportunity to apply the skills that they've learned as part of the other process. And we want this to happen before they graduate, before they walk across the stage in May or June of their senior year. Because quite frankly, if the game plan is for us to just throw our kids into the world at 18 years old and expect success, we're in trouble. We've probably set them up for failure more so than we have success. So, middle school students, and we probably can say that this needs to start back in elementary school, but middle school students, being focused on this EDA approach and understanding that as we navigate through middle school and high school, what's wrong with kids having 3 different career pathways that they're interested in? Nothing. Nothing at all. A real life example of what we'll be doing starting in, I think it's January. We have an esports pilot that we'll be running with about 50 kids from RPS. All right, so I'm gonna date myself again. Some of y'all just Googled this. Atari 5200. All right. So I said 5200 because Atari 2600 was the one that everybody knows. Atari 5200 was like, oh God, I'm getting ready to date myself again. Who remembers Beta tape? Beta. Some of y'all old in here like me. Y'all remember Beta? All right. So the young people Google that, Atari 5200 and Beta. All right. So Atari 5200 and Beta were the least impactful video games or efforts going into the audio or video market as well, right? So the opportunity that happened there is that those failures grew into Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 99, virtual gaming, all of those things. I can walk by a video game being played right now and sometimes it looks like the real game. Video game, sports, etc. What's behind the video game? Coding, creation, right? We need to shift our mindset of our kids from being master consumers to being master creators, right? You know, because they will consume it at a high level, but how do we get them to do the creative aspect of it? That's important. So going back to the esports piece, the kids will play the video game. We already know. They're going to want to play Madden, they'll play 2K, they'll play, I think it's Mario Kart or FIFA. They will play the video games. That's the carrot. What's connected to this program will be the 15 or 20 modules that are connected to 20 careers that can be evolved or come from esports and gaming. The other side of it is this. It's going to be real hard for me to tell a kid, don't stream. I don't understand online streaming and gaming. I do not understand the concept of playing a video game, recording it, and playing it on YouTube and getting paid for it. All right? I'm old. The other thing about it is people are signing 6-figure and 7-figure contracts to be esport athletes. Look it up. It's real. If you don't understand esports and don't understand gaming, you need to ASAP. This needs to be incorporated into each of our programs. I don't care if it's social emotional learning, school education, sports, etc. It's a part of life and where we are now. The world many of us were raised in or grew up in, it does not exist anymore. If you have kids, the world that you raise your kids in, guess what? It does not exist anymore. The world is moving really, really, really fast. And I had a conversation with a mentor of mine. He was talking about his first experience with a computer, all right? What he described was him hauling around a 40-pound computer on a college campus in luggage when he was in college. So I was like, when were you in college? Like 1960 or something? Like, it wasn't. It was in the 80s. 1993, y'all. I graduated high school in 1993. I had a word processor, and I thought I was fancy. Anybody know what whiteout is? Anybody knows about that? When that whiteout on a word processor goes away, what you got to start doing? Yep, you're messing up your whole paper by trying to dab and all of that stuff. But the world has evolved as far as that's concerned. All of the things I just talked about, integrated processes, integrated partnerships are really important. This is not a journey that we are just going along on our own as. We're doing this in partnership. The most important aspect of this is hearing the voices of the kids. All right? If we want to put a program together, and if a kid wants to put a program together, I need to stop saying kid. If a teenager or older youth wants to put a program together, which one would you think more teenagers would go to? Mine or ours or theirs? Probably theirs. There's this thing called youth voice. Yep, 2 words, youth voice. You need to ask questions, you need to be able to listen, and you need to be able to be understanding of what's taking place and what's happening. We could close the door on virtual gaming, esports, etc., but if I did that, I probably wouldn't have any kids in our facility. And that's the bottom line. So those are a lot of different, just a peek into what it is that we're looking to do. It's really pointed towards identifying careers, connecting to industry, and getting our kids engaged with opportunities that exist, not only locally, so locally is going to be the first piece, but the end game is what's the global economy and the impact that our kids or the ability for them to be able to interact into that. Short-term goal is let's solve the local problem. we still have this global piece that's really, really present, is not going anywhere, and it's ever changing. So that's the journey that we're on. We're excited about it. I've lost a little bit of sleep around it. I wasn't as gray when we first started talking about it, but it's really an opportunity for us to try to make some change.
I appreciate that, and I think what I'm hearing from what you're sharing is this is an opportunity for us to practice the E, the D, and the A, for us to explore these opportunities, to develop the skills, to be able to listen to youth, and then apply what we hear in ways that make that positive change. And Sean, is just before we go into the audience Q&A, I know we've talked a lot about youth voice. Do you have any other calls to action that you would like to share with us as we move forward in this work?
Yeah, so in our everyday work, just being understanding of what the barriers are that our kids face, and really our community and our families face. So when we've talked to industry, one main thing that I'm hearing is soft skills. The soft skills are really important. So there's this whole cyclical effort of things come, things go. Soft skills were real big back in the early 2000s. It went away, and we needed to do more. What industry folks are telling us is this: if you can get a kid to understand the importance of being on time, that's a plus. If you can get the kid to understand conflict management or conflict resolution, that's a plus. And communication. Those are the real simple, three simple things: be on time, communication, conflict resolution. I'll add my personal fourth is put a belt on, and we don't want to see what's under your clothes. But ultimately, the industry folks are telling us, get the kids to point A, we can take them to point B. They can train them around the specific skills that they're looking at. But there are a few foundational pieces that navigate across industries. It doesn't matter if you're into science, math, education, e-gaming, et cetera. If it's a passion of yours, you more than likely will commit to it. But there is a need for resiliency. There is a need for understanding. And there's also a need to not penalize failure. All right? We cannot penalize failure. Failure is opportunity for growth, and that's what we just need to promote to our kids as well. Be understanding. Yep, we got this thing called grades. We got GPAs and things of that nature, but we need to figure out how to move forward with that. I stand before you as a second semester college student, had a .08 GPA. It got quiet. I didn't say .8. It was a point, it was a zero, a point, another zero, then an 8. All right? Now we're calling social emotional learning. Social emotional learning is really important. Back in 1994, I was depressed. All right? I went to college to play college basketball. A couple folks in here will understand this. My first semester, probably getting about 15 to 20 minutes a game. Second semester, a senior comes back. He's in the starting lineup immediately. My time goes from 15 to 0. I did not know what was going on. Somebody laughing right here. That's not right. I wasn't trash. You said trash. But what I didn't understand was that it was a journey that I needed to go on. All I knew was that I came here to play basketball. I'm better than this person. I'm not playing. What I underestimated was a relationship that my coach had with that player for, I'm going to call it 6 years. He was a super senior. Y'all know what super seniors are, right? But the reality of it is that I suffered through depression, et cetera, et cetera. I had a .08. I went to one class, all right? I went to Virginia State, so I'll just offer that up. And the one class I went to was I think it was a biology lab. Only reason I went to that is because it was next to the cafeteria. Don't judge me. All right? .08 is real. What I had to do in order to get my scholarship back was take 4 classes in summer school, and I needed to get 4 A's. I took 4 classes. I got 4 A's. A little bit of resilience, all right? But I also knew that I did not want to fail. I also knew that I was better than what I had presented at that moment, and just needed to toughen up and tighten up. So that's where we are.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Sean and I had a good laugh yesterday when we were talking about our GPAs that first year in college. And
Yours was lower than mine, right?
I wasn't going
I'm
to say
joking,
that.
I'm joking.
I went to summer school as well. I got that academic probation letter, and that was my little, I had a mentor and my advisor, and if it hadn't been for that person and a coach to get me a little bit more focused. But thank you, Sean. And now I would like to just open up for you all in the audience. If you have questions for Sean, we've got a few minutes for that. Okay, we'll start back here. If you don't mind, just share your name and where you're coming from before you ask your question.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sandra Laws. I work for the Office of Community Wealth Building. I am a community advocate. I would like to say congratulations, Mr. Miller. It is a blessing to see a face like yours in the position that you're in, and also for the youth that are impacted at the Boys and Girls Club to see where you've come from and where you are now. My question is, in the strategic plan that y'all have now, where that will be implemented in the future, do you see you guys working with students that are 5 years old all the way up? Because I know like now in the East End, we just have the teen center. And all the youth in the East End can't go to Peter Paul. They can't take all of the younger kids.
Right. Yeah, so a couple years ago, we were at United Way for a meeting, and just imagine this visual with me. We had elementary school, middle school, high school, and it was all about the services that were embedded in each grade level. Elementary school, I think that number was like 180 different program partners in the elementary school space. When it went to middle school, it went down to 50. So 180 to 50, or almost 200 to 50. High school at that time, and I know there were more programs, but they had documented as part of this study 3 programs in the high school level, 0 in the 18, opportunity youth space, 18 to 24. So I know those numbers were off, but we made a conscious decision then to really take a look at, hey, we feel like oversaturation in a sense, or just there's a lot of different programs and organizations working inside of the elementary school space. We decided to divert our efforts into the middle school and high school space. And we're rolling the dice on it because, as y'all know, middle schoolers are hard. They're scary. They're mean. You got to get to know them at a different level than just an elementary kid. And the high schoolers, again, middle school and high school, they don't have to come to our programs. In elementary school, the parents are making them come, right? But in middle school and high school, we have to make sure that we have a card that makes them want to come to the facility. So unfortunately, our future is going to be really in the middle school and high school space. And we also want to be part of the pipeline to connect with all of the partners that are in the elementary school space. And as kids navigate through, we be there to catch them as well.
Okay, thank you. So the reason for my question was you touched on some of the things, but I feel as if the high school, middle school age students are hard to capture. And like you said, a parent makes a elementary school age child come, and I feel like we can mold them into being better individuals. I feel like that is the group that might need more focus, and we also need more out-of-school programs. We have a lot, and it's overly saturated of in-school programs. And everybody the kids who really, really need it, most of them are not even in school. A lot of them are on our dropout list. So if we can touch them at an earlier age, and I also would like to see a partnership with VCU and RPS to be able to help the kids that are in elementary school so they can help for the future, because it's hard to capture your teenagers. And like right now, I know in the East End, the Teen Center kind of trying to get there with enrollment. It's hard because the kids that we really want to help, they're not coming into the center, even with all the resources that are out there. But thank you for answering my question.
Just to piggyback on what she just said about you being a man of color in this position, working in spaces with youth, what do you think is a strategy or strategies to make sure that there's representation to the youth? I mean, we all know that when kids see someone who looks like them, they are more inclined to believe they can reach certain spaces. So not only in Black people, we have Latin and Spanish-speaking population. So what do you think are some strategies to make sure that kids are able to see people who look like them in spaces and be able to connect and have mentorships and see that pathway?
So my assumption is that we have over 100 folks in this room, right? You posing that question in this room today is going to stick in somebody's head. And the big piece of me going back to the work that we're doing, it's about exposure. It's exposure. So now is the work, the adult piece of our work is now going out and bringing back those alumni of all of our programs, going out and looking at the minority population and identifying the success stories, but also identifying the folks that have had challenges. We need to keep it real with our kids and understand that, hey, it's not a straight line. It's never a straight line. And the stories that some of our quote-unquote successful folks will probably say is that they probably had some barriers, they had some stops, they had some breakdowns along the way. I'm willing to bet that each and every one of them had at least one mentor or one positive role model that made a difference, all right? It is really important that our kids see us, all right? It's also important that our kids see us. I'm saying that again. It's important that our kids see us. It's important that they see us as well. It's 2023. Our kids are visual, they're auditory. They learn in different ways. So we need to adult this thing in a way that we break down our own barriers, but be intentional. My answer to you is being intentional about the very question that you raised. Being intentional about it. So that's a quick back of the napkin.
I think we probably have time for 2 more questions, so we'll have this one and maybe one more.
So another of the things that have changed in a post-COVID environment is the way that people give. So from a funding perspective, what are you doing, what are you seeing that we could maybe apply as different organizations that are in this space in the challenge for funding? Because not everyone is going to get $1 million from the, Mrs. Gates.
Yeah. I think the challenge for us as individual organizations is to really take a look at being more efficient in our work. And with those efficiencies, it might mean that folks need to work together a lot more, all right? It might mean that we need to create a cohort and actually go after money from the Gates Foundation. So Boys and Girls Club might not have a chance on its own, but Boys and Girls Club plus 20 other organizations has an opportunity. As not-for-profits, and this might be controversial, it might not, all right? There's not an infinite amount of money, number one, all right? There are growing demands on outcomes and things of that nature, but none of us create widgets. None of us create widgets. We do not have a sales order that we know we need to make 25 microphones and they need to go to this company. We're working with humans, we're working with emotions, we're working with a lot of different things. We're working with the community and kids that have barriers placed before them on purpose. We have to work around that. And quite frankly, there's no one single organization that can lead it. My quick answer would be, again, how do we collectively have a $10 million idea and we stand firm in a $10 million ask? We need to challenge the funders. We need to challenge the community around that aspect. Me getting $50,000, yeah, it helps my budget. You getting 25, you getting 50, that's helpful. But if we have a $50 million ask, that's what the ask is. We're the experts in this work. We must engage kids in it because they are also going to end up becoming adults and they're going to carry this work on when we're gone. So one crazy thought that I have is that we need to create these cohorts of collaborative opportunities and demand our funders to take a look at it from that aspect. We also need to share outcomes. We need to share metrics and all of those things, but we don't need to overcomplicate this thing. $10,000 is not making the same impact that 10 million can make. And that's just a reality.
Thank you. I think, was there one more question on this side? Over in the back.
So everybody pointed at you. Did you get a question from them too? Oh, you got a paper. Oh my goodness. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I just had to write
A
it
long
down
question.
because I didn't want to say it in a way that I didn't mean it. But so my name is Ashley Phillips. I'm a program manager at the School of Medicine in the DEI office. And I was wondering, as an organization or department that's not youth-facing, how can you stay informed and how can we stay informed and stay engaged to the needs of your organization or other youth initiatives in the community?
So we've been having this conversation at the office a little bit, and I'll link this to just industry in general, right? So any industry, your specific question as well. My assumption is that you have adults that work in all of your agencies, right? Raise your hand if you have adults that are your main employees, right? Guess what those adults used to be? All right. My assumption would be that in your school, do you have someone that has experience in out-of-school time or youth development on payroll? The answer is no, but it's all good. Probably not, right? So there's an opportunity for us to stand up our collective expertise and challenge the industries and businesses to say, hey, these kids are now going from 6 years old to 18-year-old to 24, and their brains are still developing. We need to have that expertise around social emotional learning and social emotional development embedded across different industries. And this is not about the, how do I want to say this? This is not about having a doctor to do this work. This is not making it super academic. This is about people that have worked hands-on and at the ground floor with kids as they've gone through challenges and trials and tribulations, and they've been able to work through different issues and problems. You've got a room full of people right here. And my challenge to the industries that may or may not be here today is, how do you now pull from the talent in our collective agencies and embed that as part of your workforce? Because it's really important. It's the equivalent of a school counselor. But even then, it becomes so important that you can't have a huge caseload either. So there's just departments that need to evolve and organizations that need to evolve and really look to us, because this is not about gym and swim and just play. There's some real work going on here. The world has evolved. In 1997, when I started at Boys and Girls Club, we were great at basketball, football, baseball, and pool. All right? That world does not exist anymore. We need to have our kids great in conflict resolution, communication, and resiliency. That's where we are. And I guarantee you that those adults that are working in all of our agencies or industries, they used to be kids. Those challenges don't change, they just get older. I was 24 when I had somebody mentor me as a 24-year-old to say, hey, don't quit, and curse me out basically, but don't quit and keep pushing. So I think the answer to that would be, how do we connect the dots between youth development and even social emotional learning inside of the workforce?
All right. Well, Sean, thank you so much. If we could give him a round of applause.